So as you may know, in 2010, Peter Laird decided to cash in his chips, saying that his work on the Turtles was taking time he wanted to spend with family. He sold off all the Ninja Turtles properties to Viacom, who prepared to use the Turtles as part of Nickelodeon. And maybe they won't screw things up like, say, EA did for Ultima. I mean, they haven't made any real stupid moves yet or anything. Yeah! Something like that! But the most frustrating thing is how recently Viacom and Nick seem to be gradually forgetting the incarnations of the Turtles that launched them into this popularity. Reviewing the first series from Fred Wolf Productions was easy, since I already owned almost the entire series myself, but I had to rely on online streams way too often for the second 4Kids series because I couldn't find DVDs in any store, not even Turtles Forever. Now, I blame myself for not getting discs off of Netflix in time, but it's still disheartening to see that Viacom seems to have ceased distribution on all the other previous shows in the last couple of years, as if they want you to think now that their new series that debuted in 2012 is the only one that exists. But is it fair for me to have that put a negative umbrella as we see just what this new series has to offer? Maybe not, so I'm gonna try to not let that influence me as we conclude this retrospective by looking at the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Shot pizza king, can't stop these radical dudes. The secret of the ooze and the chosen few emerge from the shadows to make their move. The good guys win and the bad guys lose. Heroes in the half shell, turtle power.
Even though we have a teaser to the pilot episode first, we should go ahead and talk about the opening theme for this show. Okay, it starts with the lyrics to the original series to this new updated music, which is a nice touch and pretty good. But then it goes all Super Mario Super Show with this rap number. I admit to not being a rap fan, though I found the songs from the movies catchy, but this is just not my style. Okay, this series already has one leg up on the likes of Next Mutation, as once again, we open with an explanation as to the backstory of the Turtles. In this version, not only is Splinter actually Hamato Yoshi again, but he was the one who owned the Turtles from the beginning when they were mutated, thus eliminating the middleman of the little boy. As far as the animation goes, again, I don't have a problem with CGI in general, but one area I don't think absolutely needed to be put in were all these anime-style details and reactions. Yes, the other shows had anime influences as well, but this just seems like pandering to me and unnecessary. For the character designs, they clearly wanted to give the Turtles more unique definitions because I guess different color masks and differing skin tones weren't enough, so they added details like making Donnie taller than the other ones and giving Mikey freckles. Get it? It's because he's supposed to be the cute one. Then there's Splinter. Okay, I get that the darker color is to make him more resemble a Japanese rat, but I couldn't really get why they made him so much taller than the other turtles in this one, but after a while, I think I got why.
It was the mysterious substance in this canister that, in a way, gave birth to us all.
Mom.
Yes, they want the Turtles in this one to act more like kids. And I suppose you could say it makes more sense for them to be more like teenagers instead of the more disciplined students of a ninja master, but as we'll see later, I don't think that was the reason for this character change. The voice acting, though, is not bad at all, though it is a little strange to have Donatello sounding like Raphael, since Rob Paulsen is indeed voicing him this time. Raph in this show is voiced by Samwise himself, Sean Astin, while Leo is voiced by Jason Biggs.
All right, Donnie. Put down the staff, and no one gets hurt.
You said that last time, Raph, and then you hurt me.
Yeah, but less than I would have.
It is a cake.
Made of algae. And worms.
What's the frosting made out of?
You don't want to know.
So it's the 15th anniversary of their mutation, and Splinter finally caves in and decides to let the Turtles go topside for the first time. This is where they first discover things like pizza! Okay, that is a nice touch to show where they first developed a taste for it.
Guys, look at that.
And here we have one of the biggest elements of the new show that just makes me want to bang my head against a wall. You see, they turned April into a teenage girl.
She's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
Isn't she the only girl you've ever seen?
Oh yeah, and Donnie is crushing on her. And this frustration is beyond just the fact that they kidified one of my fantasies as a teen. This is reflective of the big issue surrounding cartoons and entertainment in general today. The days of shows like Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs that had things all audiences could like are over because everyone is so focused on catering to one demographic exclusively. Viacom has been adamant for the last few years that they only want kids under 12 watching Nickelodeon. This is why they stopped giving support to the likes of Invader Zim and Avatar: The Last Airbender because they didn't like that high school and college kids were watching them. So here, they decided to make all the main characters teenagers because apparently there's always been this thing where kids are drawn to cartoons where the characters are slightly older than them. Recently, I saw a Facebook post that said every studio needs someone to read the book of whatever they're adapting and use it to smack over the head anyone who says, yeah, but what if? In this case, Nick needed someone to smack them with a full box set of the first shows! Okay, anyway, April and her dad get caught by the MIB, who turn out to be more than meets the eye. Because the Turtles could not save them, Splinter realizes they have not been taught to work as a team, and thus Leonardo agrees to be team leader because he idolizes the captain in this Star Trek XP.
Mom?
So they find out the strange creatures are called the Krang, and they have been kidnapping scientists. So, in this series, we have aliens like the Utroms, but are named after Krang from the first series. There's also several such aliens, and they're all named Krang, so they pretty much ripped off the Q from Star Trek. Oh, and the robots they travel around in were apparently built by Mojo Jojo.
Krang are those who are coming to this place. I lack that knowledge, Krang. I will inquire of Krang about that knowledge. Do you have the knowledge if those coming to this place are near this place, Krang?
They're turtles! Call them turtles! Are the turtles here?
The Turtles are able to save April, but not her dad. The punk who was working with the Krang gets mutated into Bushroot. And news of the Turtles' escapades makes a news report that gets sent all the way to Japan, where it's seen by...
I'm going to visit an old friend.
Okay, again, because I want to be fair, yes, it is pretty awesome that the Shredder in this series is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. And who knows, if they could bring in someone as cool as that, maybe the rest of this series will be really cool.
Who are you?
You'll never know.
I'm the thing that haunts your nightmares. I'm the nameless shadow.
Baxter?
No.
Baxter Stockman?
No.
Hey, everybody! It's Baxter Stockman!
Maybe not.
Heroes in a half cell, eternal power.
The issue of characters being kidified just doesn't extend to the Turtles. Not only is Karai made into a teenager, and one that Leo draws a liking to, so we can have another romantic tension plot, but remember Baxter Stockman and how he was a cold, calculating, maniacal genius in the last show? Well, here, he's a dorky loser who got fired from his office for messing with a copy machine and is treated like a joke. So, yeah, he's become like Aminda Moolah from the Aladdin cartoon. The Baxter from the first series would want to pants this guy. Meanwhile, we get other characters known from previous incarnations. Donnie builds Metalhead, who in this one is controlled by an NES Advantage. The Rat King here is a former scientist that was horribly disfigured by a lab explosion. And Leatherhead is pretty much like he was in the 4Kids series. All are pretty well done, but I get the feeling they just threw too much into this one season instead of pacing themselves. Oh, and we also get this guy.
Dudes, we have a stalker.
You inspired me to become a hero.
This kid calls himself the Pulverizer, and it's like the producers willingly went out of their way to make a fanboy character more annoying than Zack. Okay, storyline. The Turtles and Splinter eventually discover that the Shredder is in town, and he has allies in the form of a Chuck Norris wannabe and this gangster reject from the 70s, until they get mutated into a wolf and a fish. This is something else that gets me. In the original comics, the movies, and the 4Kids series, the ooze's purpose was that it simply made anything that came into contact with it bigger, stronger, and often more intelligent. In the Fred Wolf series, it specifically caused a creature to take the form of whatever animal it recently was in contact with. Here, there's really no rhyme or reason as to why the ooze mutates one into something else. It's just random and all over the map as far as I can tell. The only explanation we get is that the mutagen is not acting the way it should since it came over from Dimension X, which is a problem because it's key to Krang transforming the planet Earth into a world they can live on and thus conquer it. Hence why they want the scientists. Leatherhead, meanwhile, stole the power cell to their dimensional portal and trusts the Turtles with it, but the Krang eventually get it back, and thus they bring things from Dimension X to Earth, like Rock Warriors. Okay, that's nice. Eventually, the Shredder and the Krang form an alliance. Just let me know when they start bickering like an old married couple. And the Turtles find out that April's father isn't the one the Krang have been after among those two.
They're after me?
Yeah, apparently April possesses some kind of psychic ability that the Krang need as part of their plan or something. It's another thing that doesn't seem to be made clear, and this ability is what gives Splinter the idea that April can train as a ninja. Given how young this series still is, there isn't a lot more that I'd like to spoil in it for now. The only thing else I'd like to briefly touch on is the fight scene at the finale between Splinter and Shredder, which does have a twist ending that I think quite a few people saw coming. But this is one major example where I have to say making Splinter taller doesn't work. Giving Splinter a shorter stature in the other shows, especially compared to Shredder, it gives the image of a whole size doesn't matter message when the two fought that works really well. It's sadly lost in this case. But aside from that, my overall impression of the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtle series, I have mixed feelings about it. The show has its good points. There clearly is inspiration from both of the original shows in this series. The storyline is pretty good, there's some good comedy, and the creative team, which includes Peter Hastings, the former producer at Warner in the 90s, does a good job incorporating the many elements of the Turtle universe into its own unique continuity. I just wish they didn't feel the need to age down so many characters to forcefully appeal to the demographic Nick insists on being exclusive to. Add that to the fact that there isn't a ton of music in this series compared to many action cartoons of the past, and it just comes off not that appealing. I'm sure this show has its fans, especially among younger viewers, but it just isn't for me. The good news is that even if Viacom isn't actively distributing the previous shows at this time, we can still find them and stick to the Turtles we grew to love. And the fact that there are several incarnations of our heroes in a half-shell isn't a bad thing. Whether it's the grim and gritty characters of the original comics, the silly yet action-packed show of the 80s and 90s, the story-driven series of the 2000s, or this new show, there is something for perhaps everyone to enjoy. And in that, all Ninja Turtles fans can unite as one.